Hey there. Tonight we're talking about why you wouldn't last a night in a Viking shipyard during the height of the Norse expansion in 982 AD, where a young carpenter named Bjorn discovers that true prosperity comes not from raiding distant shores, but from mastering the ancient craft of shipbuilding that creates vessels capable of carrying entire communities toward their destiny of abundance and exploration. Before you drift off, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if this kind of transformative deep sleep hypnosis speaks to you. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and how many days in a row you've been on this manifestation journey. I love seeing how committed this community is becoming. Now dim the lights, get comfortable, and let your mind absorb abundance. You wouldn't last a night in a Viking shipyard during the summer of 982 AD, when the long northern days stretched endlessly and the work never stopped, when the sound of axes biting into seasoned oak echoed across the fjord from dawn until the brief twilight hours, and when every piece of carved wood represented the difference between life and death for entire families who would depend on these vessels to carry them safely across treacherous northern seas toward new lands filled with opportunity and abundance. The intensity would break you within hours. The physical demands of shaping massive timbers with hand tools, the mental pressure of knowing that a single mistake in measurement or joinery could doom an entire crew to watery graves in storms that could arise without warning, and the social complexity of working alongside craftsmen whose reputations had been built through decades of creating vessels that returned laden with silver, furs, and stories of successful trading expeditions that established new routes of commerce between distant lands. As you settle into your comfortable bed tonight, feeling the soft warmth surrounding your body, and hearing the gentle crackle of the fire that creates such a peaceful atmosphere for learning and growth. Imagine stepping back through time to witness a world where craftsmanship was literally a matter of life and death, where every cut of the adze and every bend of the plank had to be perfect because the sea forgives no errors, and where one young carpenter named Bjorn was about to discover that true wealth comes not from taking what others have built, but from building something so valuable that others will travel vast distances and pay premium prices to obtain it. You're about to enter a story that will carry you through the peaceful hours of sleep, while your deeper mind absorbs the timeless principles of prosperity that Bjorn learned during those long summer nights in the shipyard, where the work continued under the pale Arctic sun that barely set during the height of the building season, when every hour of light was precious for the complex work of creating vessels that would carry Norse traders and explorers to the furthest reaches of the known world. Feel yourself beginning to relax as we journey back to a time when wealth was measured not in hoarded coins, but in the quality of craftsmanship that could withstand the ultimate test of violent storms and towering waves, when prosperity flowed to those who understood that true value comes from solving problems that no one else can solve, and when abundance consciousness meant recognizing that the greatest fortunes are built by creating things that enable other people to achieve their own dreams of exploration, discovery, and success in ventures that would be impossible without the foundation of superior craftsmanship and engineering excellence. The summer evening air in the fjords of western Norway carries the rich scents of pine resin, oak shavings, and the salt spray that drifts inland from the North Sea, where Viking ships regularly appear on the horizon, carrying crews returning from successful trading expeditions to Iceland, Greenland, and the mysterious lands beyond, their hulls low in the water, with cargo that represents months of careful negotiation and cultural exchange in markets where Norse craftsmanship has become synonymous with reliability, durability, and the kind of superior quality that enables demanding customers to achieve results impossible with inferior tools and equipment. This is a world where every economic transaction carries risks that modern people can barely comprehend, where a merchant's investment in a single trading voyage might represent his family's entire accumulated wealth, and where the difference between success and catastrophic failure often depends on the quality of the ship that carries the expedition, the reliability of its construction, and the reputation of the craftsman who built it with his own hands, according to techniques passed down through generations of master builders who learned their skills through years of apprenticeship and decades of continuous refinement. The Viking shipyard represents far more than a simple manufacturing facility. It serves as the beating heart of an entire economic system that connects Scandinavian communities to trading networks spanning from Greenland to Constantinople, from the Shetland Islands to the rivers of Russia, creating opportunities for prosperity that would be impossible without the technological foundation of superior shipbuilding techniques that enable reliable navigation across vast distances in conditions that would destroy vessels built according to inferior methods or with less sophisticated understanding of how wooden structures must flex and respond to the dynamic forces they encounter in heavy seas. As you allow your breathing to slow naturally, while your mind opens to receive these profound lessons about the relationship between craftsmanship and prosperity, you might begin to recognize how these same principles continue to operate in your modern world, where true abundance still flows most readily to those who focus on creating exceptional value rather than simply competing on price, who understand that lasting success comes from solving difficult problems that others cannot or will not address, and who recognize that the highest levels of prosperity are achieved by those who help others accomplish things they could never achieve without access to superior tools, knowledge, and capabilities. The summer evening light in the Viking shipyard casts long golden shadows across the working area, where dozens of skilled craftsmen labor with focused intensity on various stages of ship construction, their movements displaying the kind of practiced efficiency that comes only from years of experience working with hand tools that demand absolute precision and perfect timing in every cut, every joint, and every careful shaping of the massive oak timbers that will form the backbone of vessels capable of carrying 30 warriors and their equipment safely across the most dangerous waters in the known world. Bjorn stands at the edge of this organized chaos, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and overwhelming uncertainty as he watches master shipbuilders like Eric the Far-Traveled, whose vessels have successfully completed more than 50 trading voyages without losing a single crew member to structural failure, demonstrate techniques for selecting and preparing timber that involve knowledge accumulated through decades of careful observation about how different types of wood behave under stress, how grain patterns affect strength and flexibility, and how seasonal variations in the growing conditions create subtle but crucial differences in the quality and characteristics of the raw materials that form the foundation of every successful shipbuilding project. As you allow yourself to sink deeper into the comfortable support of your bed, feeling the soft warmth enveloping your body like a protective cocoon that shields you from all concerns and worries, while your mind becomes increasingly receptive to the profound lessons about craftsmanship and prosperity that Bjorn is about to learn. Imagine the overwhelming sensory experience of the active shipyard, where the constant sound of axes biting into seasoned wood creates a rhythmic percussion that synchronizes with the heartbeat of an entire community, whose economic survival depends on the quality and reliability of the vessels being constructed during these crucial summer months, when weather conditions permit the intensive outdoor work required for shaping the large structural components that cannot be completed during the harsh winter months, when temperatures and shortened daylight hours make such complex construction projects impossible. The air vibrates with purposeful activity as craftsmen work in coordinated teams, each individual contributing specialized skills to the collaborative effort of creating something far more sophisticated and valuable than any single person could produce working alone, demonstrating principles of cooperation and specialization that enable human communities to achieve results that seem almost miraculous when compared to what isolated individuals can accomplish using only their own limited knowledge and capabilities. You wouldn't understand the crushing weight of responsibility that settles on Bjorn's shoulders as he realizes that his family's entire future prosperity depends on his ability to master not just the basic techniques of woodworking, but the sophisticated engineering principles that enable Viking ships to flex and respond to wave action without breaking apart under stresses that would destroy rigid structures. The complex hydrodynamic considerations that determine how hull shapes affect speed and stability in different sea conditions, and the subtle psychological factors that influence crew confidence and performance during long voyages when moral and physical courage are tested by storms, navigation challenges, and the countless uncertainties that characterize extended expeditions into unknown waters, where rescue is impossible and survival depends entirely on the quality of preparation, equipment, and leadership. The Viking economy offers no safety nets for those who fail to master their chosen crafts. Unsuccessful shipbuilders don't simply lose money or need to find alternative employment. They face social ostracism from communities that depend on reliable vessels for their economic survival, and their failures can result in the death of entire crews whose families trusted their craftsmanship with the most precious thing they possessed, the lives of their fathers, sons, and brothers, who risked everything on trading expeditions that represented their only hope for achieving the kind of prosperity that could lift their families out of subsistence-level existence. Eric the far-traveled moves through the shipyard with the quiet authority of someone whose reputation has been earned through consistent success in the most demanding possible circumstances, his weathered hands examining every joint and structural element with the kind of detailed attention that reveals decades of experience, learning exactly how wooden ships fail and what construction techniques prevent those failures under the extreme conditions that characterize North Atlantic navigation. Bjorn watches in fascination as Eric demonstrates the critical importance of selecting timber with grain patterns that provide maximum strength in the specific directions where stress will be applied, explaining how the living tree's response to wind and weather creates internal structures that can be utilized by craftsmen who understand how to read the subtle signs that indicate whether a particular piece of wood will perform reliably or fail catastrophically when subjected to the flexing and twisting forces that ships encounter in heavy seas. This level of material knowledge represents far more than simple woodworking skill. It encompasses understanding of structural engineering, materials science, and the physics of wave action that modern shipbuilders learn through years of formal education, but which Viking craftsmen had to discover through careful observation, systematic experimentation, and the harsh teacher of real-world performance, where mistakes are measured not in failed tests or theoretical problems, but in lost ships and drowned crews, whose deaths provide tragic but undeniable feedback about the adequacy of construction techniques and design decisions. As you feel yourself relaxing more deeply, allowing these insights about the profound relationship between craftsmanship and responsibility to settle into your consciousness while your breathing becomes slower and more natural, you might begin to recognize how these same principles of excellence and accountability continue to apply in your modern world, where true prosperity still flows most readily to those who take full responsibility for the quality and reliability of their work, who understand that their reputation depends on consistent performance under challenging conditions, and who recognize that lasting success requires not just technical competence, but the kind of integrity and commitment to excellence that builds trust with customers who depend on superior quality for achieving their own important goals and objectives. The evening shipyard reveals layers of complexity that Bjorn had never previously imagined, as he observes how master craftsmen coordinate their individual specialties to create vessels that represent the integrated application of dozens of different skills, ranging from the obvious woodworking techniques to the subtle arts of rope making, sail construction, metalworking for fittings and fastenings, and even the psychological understanding necessary for designing vessels that inspire confidence in crews who must maintain morale and effectiveness during months-long voyages where fear and uncertainty could prove as dangerous as any storm or navigation error. Master Olaf, whose innovative modifications to traditional hull designs have increased cargo capacity by 20%, while actually improving seaworthiness and speed, demonstrates how small changes in construction techniques can create competitive advantages that enable his ships to complete trading circuits more efficiently than competitors, generating higher profits for merchants while reducing risks for crews who appreciate vessels that handle predictably in difficult conditions. This systematic approach to innovation reveals that Viking shipbuilding involves far more than simply following traditional patterns passed down through generations. The most successful builders continuously experiment with new techniques, carefully test modifications under controlled conditions, and systematically incorporate improvements that enhance performance while maintaining the proven reliability that makes their vessels trusted by experienced captains who stake their lives and fortunes on the quality of construction. Bjorn begins to understand that this balance between innovation and tradition requires a deep understanding of why traditional techniques work, what specific problems they solve, and how modifications might affect the complex interactions between different structural elements that must work together harmoniously to create vessels capable of surviving the ultimate test of extended ocean voyages in the North Atlantic, where weather conditions can change from calm to life-threatening in a matter of hours. As Bjorn watches Master Olaf explain the reasoning behind a particular joint design that distributes stress more evenly across multiple structural members, he realizes that successful shipbuilding requires not just skilled hands, but analytical thinking that can understand complex mechanical relationships, anticipate potential failure modes, and develop solutions that address multiple requirements simultaneously without compromising the overall integrity and performance of the final product. This level of systematic thinking about complex engineering problems represents a form of intelligence that goes far beyond simple craft knowledge to encompass the kind of strategic reasoning that enables human beings to create tools and technologies that extend their capabilities far beyond what would be possible using only their natural physical and mental abilities. The sophisticated metallurgy involved in creating the iron fastenings that hold Viking ships together reveals another dimension of the technical knowledge required for successful shipbuilding, as Master Gunner demonstrates techniques for forging nails and bolts that must resist corrosion from salt water while maintaining sufficient strength to hold structural joints together under the extreme stresses that ships encounter in heavy weather. The quality of these metal components often determines whether vessels survive or perish during violent storms, making metallurgical skill as crucial as woodworking expertise for builders who want to create ships with reputations for reliability and durability that enable them to command premium prices from merchants who understand that superior construction is worth paying extra to obtain when their lives and fortunes depend on reaching distant markets safely with valuable cargo intact. Bjorn observes that the ironwork in Viking ships represents sophisticated understanding of materials science that enables craftsmen to create fastenings with exactly the right combination of strength and flexibility to accommodate the natural movement of wooden hulls without failing under stress, demonstrating how successful shipbuilding requires integration of multiple technical specialties that must work together seamlessly to create vessels that perform reliably under the extreme conditions that characterize extended ocean voyages. This collaborative approach to complex technical challenges reveals principles of teamwork and specialization that enable human communities to achieve results far beyond what any individual could accomplish working alone, creating value through cooperation that benefits everyone involved in the process, while enabling the achievement of goals that would be impossible through individual effort, regardless of personal skill or dedication. As you allow these insights about collaboration, specialization, and technical excellence to flow naturally into your consciousness, feeling your body becoming more relaxed and your mind more receptive to the deeper lessons about prosperity and value creation that Bjorn is discovering, you might recognize how these same principles continue to operate in your modern world, where the most successful enterprises depend on bringing together diverse skills and knowledge to create products and services that solve complex problems in ways that no single individual could achieve independently. The evening light continues to fade gradually as the shipyard work proceeds under the pale Arctic sun that provides extended daylight hours during the crucial summer building season, creating an almost magical atmosphere where ancient craftsmanship traditions combine with innovative problem-solving to produce vessels that represent the technological pinnacle of their era. Master Eric demonstrates another crucial aspect of successful shipbuilding as he explains how different design choices affect the performance characteristics that determine whether ships succeed or fail in various types of trading missions, from the shallow draft vessels optimized for river navigation that opens access to inland markets, to the deep water ships designed for transoceanic voyages that require different structural characteristics to handle the large waves and extended stress cycles that characterize open ocean navigation. This sophisticated understanding of how form follows function in ship design reveals that successful builders must understand not just construction techniques, but also the business requirements and operational challenges that their customers face when using vessels for specific types of commercial activities that each impose different demands on hull design, cargo capacity, crew accommodation, and defensive capabilities. Bjorn realizes that this customer-focused approach to design and construction represents a fundamental principle of value creation that extends far beyond shipbuilding to encompass any situation where craftsmen or entrepreneurs want to create products that truly serve their customers' needs, rather than simply demonstrating technical skill or following traditional patterns without regard for how well the final product performs in real-world applications. As you absorb this understanding about the importance of aligning craftsmanship with customer needs and market requirements, feeling your breathing become slower and more rhythmic, while your mind opens to new insights about how value is created through understanding and serving others, you might notice how your own consciousness begins to expand beyond narrow self-interest to encompass the broader perspective that recognizes prosperity as something that flows naturally to those who focus on creating genuine value for others while pursuing their own excellence and professional development. As the medieval summer evening deepens and the pale Arctic sun creates an ethereal atmosphere of endless twilight that seems to exist outside normal time, Bjorn discovers that successful Viking shipbuilding requires fluency in what Master Eric calls the language of wood, a sophisticated understanding of how different types of timber communicate their structural properties, potential weaknesses, and optimal applications through subtle visual and tactile cues that experienced craftsmen learn to read as easily as you might read words on a page, but which requires years of patient observation and systematic experimentation to master completely. The ancient oak trees that provide the primary structural material for Viking vessels contain within their grain patterns a complete history of their growth conditions, seasonal variations, and environmental stresses that created internal characteristics directly relevant to how the wood will perform when subjected to the complex loading patterns that ships encounter during extended ocean voyages, where structural failure means not just economic loss, but death for entire crews whose families depend on their successful return from trading expeditions that represent their only opportunity for achieving significant prosperity. As you settle more deeply into the comfortable embrace of your bed, feeling the soft warmth surrounding your body and the gentle crackling of the fire, creating such a peaceful backdrop for absorbing these profound lessons about craftsmanship and prosperity, imagine Bjorn's growing amazement as he realizes that every piece of timber in the shipyard tells a story that experienced builders can decipher with remarkable accuracy, reading the history of individual trees through careful examination of growth rings, grain patterns, knot placement, and dozens of other subtle indicators that reveal whether specific pieces of wood will provide the strength, flexibility, and durability required for particular structural applications in vessels that must survive conditions that test every joint, every fastening, and every design decision under circumstances where there is no possibility of repair or reinforcement until the voyage is completed and the ship returns safely to home waters. This profound level of material knowledge represents far more than simple woodworking skill. It encompasses understanding of biology, physics, and engineering that enables craftsmen to predict with remarkable accuracy how different pieces of timber will behave under stress, how seasonal variations in growing conditions affect wood properties in ways that might not become apparent until years after construction, when ships encounter severe weather that reveals whether material selection decisions were sound or fatally flawed. Master Eric demonstrates this principle as he examines a massive oak timber selected for the ship's keel, pointing out subtle characteristics in the grain pattern that indicate this particular tree grew slowly and consistently over many decades, creating dense, uniform wood with the kind of structural integrity required for the primary load-bearing member that must distribute the stresses from mast, rigging, and hull loads without developing the microscopic cracks that could eventually lead to catastrophic failure during heavy weather when crew survival depends absolutely on structural reliability. You wouldn't immediately grasp the sophisticated quality control systems that Viking shipbuilders employ naturally, almost unconsciously, as they evaluate every piece of material that goes into their vessels, recognizing that the harsh environment of North Atlantic navigation provides unforgiving feedback about construction quality, where marginal materials or questionable craftsmanship techniques result in failures that can't be hidden, ignored, or explained away, because the sea reveals truth with absolute certainty and devastating consequences for those who compromise on quality or attempt to achieve short-term savings through the use of inferior materials or construction shortcuts that might seem acceptable under less demanding conditions. The economic incentives in Viking shipbuilding create natural selection pressure that drives continuous improvement in both materials and techniques, because builders whose ships fail lose not just their current customers, but their reputations within communities, where information about performance travels quickly and accurately through networks of merchants, captains, and crew members who share detailed knowledge about which builders consistently produce reliable vessels and which ones create ships that develop problems during extended use. As you allow your breathing to become slower and more natural, while these insights about quality control and reputation-based economics settle into your consciousness, you might recognize how these same dynamics continue to operate in your modern world, where true prosperity still flows most readily to those who consistently deliver superior quality that performs reliably under demanding conditions, who understand that their reputation represents their most valuable asset that must be protected through unwavering commitment to excellence, even when competitive pressures or short-term opportunities tempt them to compromise on the standards that have established their credibility with customers who depend on consistent performance for achieving their own important objectives and goals. The evening shipyard reveals another dimension of complexity that Bjorn hadn't previously understood. The sophisticated understanding of hydrodynamics and structural engineering that enables Viking builders to create hull shapes that optimize performance for specific types of missions while maintaining the structural integrity required for survival in extreme weather conditions that can arise without warning during extended voyages across unpredictable northern seas. Master Olaf demonstrates how subtle changes in hull curvature affect both speed and stability, explaining that shallow draft vessels optimized for river navigation require different design approaches than deep-water ships intended for transoceanic voyages, and how these functional requirements must be balanced against structural considerations that ensure adequate strength without excessive weight that would compromise performance or cargo capacity in ways that make trading expeditions less profitable for merchants who depend on efficient transportation to compete successfully in international markets. This systematic approach to design optimization reveals that Viking shipbuilding involves far more than following traditional patterns. The most successful builders continuously analyze the relationship between form and function, systematically test modifications to improve performance, and carefully incorporate innovations that enhance capabilities while maintaining proven reliability that gives customers confidence in vessels that must perform flawlessly under conditions where backup plans and emergency assistance are simply not available. Bjorn begins to understand that this analytical approach to design and construction requires not just technical skill, but scientific thinking that can understand complex cause and effect relationships, anticipate potential problems before they occur, and develop solutions that address multiple requirements simultaneously without creating new weaknesses or complications that could compromise overall performance under the extreme conditions that characterize extended ocean navigation. The sophisticated rope and rigging work that complements hull construction demonstrates another aspect of the integrated technical knowledge required for creating complete vessels that function as coherent systems rather than collections of individual components that happen to be assembled together without proper understanding of how different elements interact to create overall performance characteristics. Master Gunner explains how rigging design must be coordinated with hull characteristics to ensure that sail forces are transmitted efficiently to the structural framework without creating stress concentrations that could lead to failures, and how rope materials and construction techniques must be matched to specific applications where different types of loads require different approaches to achieve optimal performance and reliability over extended periods of use in harsh marine environments. Bjorn observes that this systems thinking approach to vessel design reveals principles of integration and optimization that enable human beings to create tools and technologies far more sophisticated than the sum of their individual components, demonstrating how conscious coordination of different technical specialties can produce results that seem almost magical when compared to what might be achieved through random assembly of even high-quality individual parts without proper understanding of how they should work together to create superior overall performance. This collaborative approach to complex technical challenges shows how prosperity flows naturally to those who understand that true value is created through intelligent coordination of diverse capabilities rather than simply accumulating individual skills or resources without regard for how they can be integrated to solve important problems that customers face in their own efforts to achieve prosperity and success. As Elena allows these insights about systems thinking and collaborative technical development to flow naturally into your consciousness, feeling your mind becoming more receptive and your body more completely relaxed, you might notice how your own understanding of value creation begins to encompass these more sophisticated approaches to problem solving that recognize how individual expertise becomes exponentially more valuable when combined intelligently with complementary knowledge and capabilities possessed by others who share common goals and commitment to excellence in serving customers whose success enables everyone involved in the value creation process to achieve their own prosperity objectives. The medieval evening continues to unfold with Bjorn discovering that successful shipbuilders don't just create individual vessels, but participate in larger economic networks that span vast distances and connect Scandinavian communities to trading opportunities extending from Greenland to Constantinople, from Iceland to the river systems of Eastern Europe, where Viking merchants have established trading posts that provide access to goods and markets impossible to reach without reliable transportation that can navigate both open ocean and inland waterways with cargo capacity sufficient to make long-distance trading expeditions economically viable for merchants who must recover their substantial initial investments while generating profits sufficient to justify the risks and uncertainties inherent in extended commercial ventures into unfamiliar territories. Master Eric demonstrates this principle as he explains how design decisions made during shipbuilding directly affect the profitability and success of trading expeditions that might last for months or even years, requiring vessels that can carry substantial cargo loads while maintaining the speed and maneuverability necessary for navigating challenging waters and avoiding the various dangers that threaten merchant vessels traveling through regions where political conflicts, piracy, and natural hazards create constant risks that must be managed through superior seamanship enabled by well-designed, properly constructed vessels that respond predictably to crew commands even under difficult conditions. This understanding of how craftsmanship enables customer success reveals that the most prosperous builders focus not just on creating technically excellent products, but on understanding and serving the broader business requirements that determine whether their customers achieve their own prosperity objectives through the use of superior tools and equipment. Bjorn realizes that this customer-focused approach to craftsmanship represents a fundamental principle of sustainable abundance that extends far beyond shipbuilding to encompass any situation where value is created through providing tools, knowledge, or capabilities that enable others to achieve results they couldn't accomplish without access to superior products or services. As you absorb this understanding about the relationship between craftsmanship and customer success, feeling your breathing become slower and more rhythmic, while your mind opens to new insights about how prosperity flows through networks of mutual benefit and collaborative value creation, you might recognize how these same principles continue to operate in your modern world, where lasting abundance comes not from extracting maximum value from individual transactions, but from building relationships and capabilities that enable sustained success for everyone involved in the process of creating and exchanging value. The sophisticated metallurgy and tool-making that supports Viking shipbuilding reveals another dimension of the technical infrastructure required for creating vessels that meet the demanding performance standards expected by experienced merchants and ship captains who understand exactly what characteristics distinguish reliable ships from marginal ones that might perform adequately under favorable conditions, but fail when subjected to the extreme stresses that inevitably occur during extended ocean voyages. Master Gunner demonstrates techniques for creating specialized tools that enable precise shaping of complex wooden joints, forging techniques for producing iron fastenings that resist corrosion while maintaining strength, and quality control methods that ensure consistent performance across large numbers of individual components that must work together reliably to create vessels worthy of the trust placed in them by crews whose lives depend on construction quality. The evening shipyard also reveals how master craftsmen approach the crucial challenge of training apprentices and preserving technical knowledge that represents centuries of accumulated understanding about materials, techniques, and design principles that enable the creation of vessels capable of surviving North Atlantic conditions while providing the cargo capacity and operational flexibility required for successful commercial expeditions. Eric explains how knowledge transfer requires not just demonstration of specific techniques, but development of understanding about underlying principles that enable apprentices to adapt their skills to new challenges and continue improving their capabilities throughout their careers. As conditions change and new requirements emerge that demand innovative solutions based on solid foundations of proven craftsmanship principles. This educational approach to skill development demonstrates how sustainable prosperity depends not just on individual excellence, but on the creation of knowledge systems and training programs that enable entire communities to maintain and improve their capabilities over time, creating competitive advantages that benefit everyone involved while ensuring that valuable technical knowledge is preserved and enhanced rather than lost through lack of systematic attention to knowledge transfer and capability development. As you allow these insights about education, knowledge preservation, and community development to settle into your consciousness while feeling your body becoming more relaxed and your mind more open to new understanding, you might recognize how these same principles apply in your modern context, where long-term abundance depends on developing and sharing knowledge that enables others to achieve their own success while contributing to the overall prosperity of communities and organizations that support individual growth and achievement. As the medieval summer evening transitions into the deeper twilight hours, when the pale Arctic sun hovers just above the horizon, creating an almost supernatural atmosphere of endless possibility where time seems suspended and normal limitations fade away, Bjorn witnesses something that fundamentally transforms his understanding of how true mastery in shipbuilding requires not just perfect execution of traditional techniques, but the creative intelligence to recognize when established methods need modification or complete redesign to meet new challenges and opportunities that arise as Viking trading networks expand into previously unexplored regions with different navigation requirements, climate conditions, and market demands that call for innovative solutions that no previous generation of builders has had to address. Master Eric receives detailed reports from a recently returned trading expedition that successfully reached the mysterious lands beyond Greenland, bringing back not just valuable cargo and detailed navigation information, but specific feedback about how their vessel performed under conditions that tested every aspect of its design and construction in ways that reveal both strengths to be preserved and limitations to be overcome through intelligent modifications that could improve performance without compromising the proven reliability that makes Viking ships trusted throughout the known world. As you allow yourself to sink deeper into the comfortable support of your bed, feeling the gentle warmth surrounding your body and the peaceful crackling of the fire, creating the perfect atmosphere for absorbing these profound lessons about innovation and adaptive excellence that remain just as relevant in your modern world as they were in Bjorn's medieval shipyard. Imagine his growing excitement as he realizes that the most successful craftsmen don't just master existing techniques, but actively seek opportunities to improve and innovate in ways that create new competitive advantages while maintaining the fundamental reliability that customers depend on for achieving their own success in ventures where equipment failure could mean not just financial loss, but actual death in hostile environments where rescue is impossible and survival depends entirely on the quality of preparation and equipment. This approach to continuous improvement demonstrates a fundamental principle of sustainable prosperity that Bjorn had never previously understood. Truly successful people don't just adapt to changing conditions. They actively work to create the changes that position them advantageously for future opportunities, while strengthening their ability to serve customers more effectively than competitors who remain locked into traditional approaches that may become obsolete as conditions evolve and new requirements emerge. The Evening Shipyard reveals that innovation in Viking shipbuilding requires sophisticated understanding of how modifications to established designs might affect the complex interactions between structural elements, hydrodynamic performance, and operational characteristics that determine whether vessels succeed or fail under the extreme conditions that characterize extended ocean voyages, where every design decision carries life and death consequences for crews whose families depend on their safe return from trading expeditions that represent their only realistic opportunity for achieving significant prosperity in communities where economic resources are limited and alternative paths to wealth are either unavailable or far more dangerous than maritime commerce. Master Olaf demonstrates this principle as he explains his systematic approach to testing design modifications under controlled conditions before incorporating them into vessels that will carry valuable cargo and irreplaceable human lives across vast distances where engineering failures can't be corrected through emergency repairs or external assistance that simply doesn't exist in the middle of the North Atlantic during violent storms that test every joint, every fastening, and every design assumption with relentless force that reveals truth with absolute certainty. This methodical approach to innovation reveals that successful improvement requires not just creativity and technical skill, but scientific thinking that can analyze complex cause and effect relationships, predict potential consequences of design changes, and develop testing procedures that provide reliable information about how modifications will perform under real-world conditions before committing to changes that could affect the safety and success of future expeditions. Bjorn begins to understand that this analytical approach to innovation represents a sophisticated form of risk management that enables craftsmen to pursue improvements while minimizing the chances of creating new problems that could compromise the proven reliability that forms the foundation of their reputation and customer relationships in markets where trust is earned through consistent performance over extended periods of time under challenging conditions that reveal character and competence with unforgiving clarity. You wouldn't immediately grasp the sophisticated experimental methodology that Viking shipbuilders employ naturally as they develop and test innovations that could improve performance while maintaining reliability. recognizing that the harsh environment of extended ocean navigation provides the ultimate testing ground where theoretical improvements must prove their value under conditions that can't be simulated or predicted with complete accuracy, making careful experimental design essential for distinguishing between modifications that provide genuine improvements and changes that might seem beneficial under limited testing but could prove problematic or even dangerous under the extreme conditions that ships inevitably encounter during extended use in demanding marine environments. The economic and social incentives in Viking communities create natural selection pressure that rewards genuine innovation while quickly eliminating approaches that compromise reliability or safety, because the consequences of engineering failures are immediate, visible, and impossible to conceal from communities where information about performance spreads rapidly through networks of merchants, captains, and crew members who share detailed knowledge about which builders consistently produce superior results. As you allow your breathing to become slower and more natural, while these insights about systematic innovation and evidence-based improvement settle into your consciousness, you might recognize how these same principles continue to operate in your modern world, where sustainable prosperity still flows most readily to those who can balance innovation with reliability, who understand that true competitive advantage comes from systematic improvement rather than random experimentation, and who recognize that lasting success requires building customer trust through consistent performance while continuously developing new capabilities that enable them to serve evolving needs more effectively than competitors who either resist change or pursue innovation without adequate attention to maintaining the proven reliability that customers depend on for achieving their own important objectives. The medieval evening progresses with Bjorn discovering how master shipbuilders use their understanding of broader economic and technological trends to anticipate future requirements and begin developing solutions before market demands become obvious to competitors, creating first-mover advantages that enable them to capture premium pricing and preferred customer relationships when new opportunities emerge in response to changing trade routes, political developments, or technological advances that create demand for vessels with different performance characteristics than traditional designs can provide efficiently. Master Gunner explains how his analysis of trading patterns and customer feedback has led him to develop specialized vessel designs optimized for specific types of commercial activities, from shallow draft ships designed for river navigation that opens access to inland markets, to ice-strengthened hulls capable of operating in Arctic waters, where traditional vessels would be damaged or destroyed by ice conditions that create both hazards and opportunities for merchants brave enough and well-equipped enough to pursue trading relationships in regions where competition is minimal, but environmental challenges are extreme. This strategic approach to product development demonstrates that lasting prosperity requires not just technical excellence in current products, but market intelligence and strategic thinking that enable anticipation of future opportunities while developing the capabilities needed to serve emerging customer needs more effectively than competitors who react to changes after they become obvious to everyone in the industry. Bjorn observes that this forward-thinking approach requires continuous investment in research, development, and capability building, even when current products are performing successfully, recognizing that sustainable competitive advantage comes from staying ahead of market evolution rather than simply maintaining current market position through more efficient execution of established approaches that may become obsolete as conditions change and new requirements emerge. As you absorb this understanding about strategic innovation and market anticipation, feeling your mind becoming more receptive and your body more completely relaxed, you might notice how your own awareness of opportunities begins to expand beyond immediate circumstances to encompass longer-term trends and emerging possibilities that could represent significant sources of value creation in your personal and professional life. If you develop the capabilities and relationships needed to serve evolving needs before they become obvious to everyone else in your field or industry. The evening shipyard reveals another dimension of innovation that Bjorn hadn't previously considered: the importance of what Master Eric calls systematic knowledge capture, the disciplined process of documenting, analyzing, and systematically building upon lessons learned from every project, every customer interaction, and every performance feedback report to create an ever-expanding knowledge base that enables continuous improvement in both technical capabilities and business understanding. Master Eric demonstrates how he maintains detailed records of material properties, construction techniques, performance characteristics, and customer feedback for every vessel his shipyard produces, creating a comprehensive database of information that enables him to identify patterns, predict outcomes, and systematically improve his methods based on evidence rather than intuition or tradition alone. This systematic approach to knowledge management enables him to make better decisions about material selection, design optimization, and construction techniques, while providing the information base needed for training apprentices more effectively and developing innovations that address real performance requirements, rather than pursuing changes that might seem interesting but don't actually improve customer outcomes in measurable ways. Bjorn realizes that this disciplined approach to knowledge capture and analysis represents a crucial difference between craftsmen who achieve steady improvement over time versus those who repeat the same approaches year after year without systematic learning from experience or feedback from customers who use their products under real-world conditions. As you allow this understanding about systematic learning and knowledge management to flow naturally into your consciousness, feeling your breathing become slower and more rhythmic, while your mind opens to new insights about how expertise develops through conscious attention to feedback and systematic improvement, you might recognize how these same principles apply in your modern context, where sustained success requires not just initial competence, but continuous learning and improvement based on careful attention to results and systematic development of better approaches to serving customer needs and achieving superior outcomes. The sophisticated supply chain management that supports innovative shipbuilding reveals another aspect of the systems thinking required for creating vessels that incorporate the best available materials and components from sources throughout the Viking trading network, enabling builders to access specialized resources that might not be available locally, but which provide superior performance characteristics that justify the additional complexity and cost of sourcing materials from distant suppliers. Master Olaf explains how his relationships with iron suppliers in Norway, rope makers in Iceland, and timber specialists throughout Scandinavia enable him to obtain materials that meet his exact specifications for different applications, creating supply chains that support innovation while maintaining the quality control necessary for building vessels that meet the demanding performance standards expected by experienced customers who understand the difference between adequate and exceptional construction quality. This network-based approach to resource access demonstrates how innovation often depends not just on individual creativity and technical skill, but on building relationships and systems that provide access to the best available materials, knowledge, and capabilities from multiple sources that can be integrated to create superior results than would be possible using only locally available resources or individual expertise without collaborative support from specialists in different aspects of the overall value creation process. Bjorn observes that this collaborative approach to innovation enables the achievement of results that would be impossible for any individual craftsman working alone, regardless of personal skill or dedication. demonstrating how sustainable prosperity depends on building networks and relationships that enable access to resources and capabilities beyond what any single person or organization can develop independently. The evening marketplace reveals how innovative shipbuilders use their understanding of changing customer requirements to develop new products and services that address emerging market needs, while leveraging their existing capabilities and reputation to enter new market segments that provide opportunities for growth and diversification beyond traditional shipbuilding activities. Eric explains how his expertise in vessel design has led to opportunities for consulting with merchants who want to optimize their trading operations, advising other builders who want to improve their techniques, and even participating in the planning of new settlements, where his knowledge of transportation requirements and infrastructure development provides valuable input for community leaders who must make decisions about harbor design, storage facilities, and transportation systems that will determine the economic viability of new trading posts and settlements. This expansion beyond core manufacturing activities demonstrates how innovation can create multiple revenue streams and market opportunities that leverage existing expertise while providing new sources of growth and prosperity that reduce dependence on any single product line or customer segment, creating business resilience and strategic flexibility that enable continued success even when market conditions change or competitive pressures increase in traditional areas of business activity. As you allow these insights about innovation, diversification, and business development to settle into your consciousness while feeling your body becoming more relaxed and your mind more open to new possibilities, you might recognize how these same principles apply in your modern world, where sustainable abundance often comes from building upon existing strengths to create new opportunities for value creation and service that enable continued growth and prosperity, even as markets evolve and competitive conditions change. As the medieval summer evening deepens into the magical hours, when the pale Arctic sun creates an ethereal atmosphere that seems to exist outside normal time and space, with the gentle sounds of the shipyard work creating a rhythmic backdrop of purposeful activity that synchronizes with the natural rhythms of breath and heartbeat. Bjorn discovers that the most successful Viking shipbuilders operate according to principles that go far deeper than technical craftsmanship or business strategy, encompassing a profound understanding of human nature, community dynamics, and the underlying forces that drive all economic activity throughout the interconnected networks of trade and exploration that connect Scandinavian communities to opportunities spanning from the Arctic territories of Greenland to the sophisticated markets of Constantinople, where Norse craftsmanship has earned recognition for reliability and quality that enables Viking merchants to command premium prices for goods that bear the reputation of superior workmanship and proven performance under the most demanding conditions imaginable. As you allow yourself to settle even more deeply into the comfortable embrace of your bed, feeling the soft warmth enveloping your body, while the gentle crackling of the fire creates the perfect atmosphere for absorbing these profound insights about the nature of lasting prosperity and the deeper currents that carry abundance to those who align themselves with natural principles of value creation and community service. Imagine Bjorn's growing realization that these master shipbuilders don't just participate in the Viking economy. They help to shape and direct it through their decisions about what types of vessels to build, which innovations to pursue, and how to structure their businesses in ways that create opportunities not just for their own prosperity, but for entire communities of merchants, traders, and explorers whose success depends on having access to vessels that enable them to achieve results impossible with inferior transportation that lacks the reliability, capacity, and performance characteristics necessary for successful completion of ambitious commercial and exploratory expeditions into unknown waters where survival and success depend absolutely on equipment quality and crew competence. This deeper level of economic participation requires thinking beyond immediate customer requirements to consider how current decisions will influence future possibilities for entire communities, how individual innovations contribute to larger technological and economic developments that benefit many people, and how local craftsmanship connects to broader patterns of cultural and economic expansion that carry Scandinavian influence and trading relationships to distant lands where Viking ships become symbols of technological sophistication and commercial reliability that open doors to trading opportunities and cultural exchanges impossible to achieve without the foundation of superior transportation technology that enables reliable navigation across vast distances under challenging conditions that would defeat less capable vessels and less skilled crews. The medieval shipyard reveals that true mastery of shipbuilding involves understanding the invisible networks of influence and information that connect Viking communities across vast distances, creating informal but highly effective systems for sharing technical knowledge, coordinating responses to common challenges, and identifying collaborative opportunities that benefit entire regions while simultaneously advancing individual business interests in ways that demonstrate how cooperation and competition can work together rather than against each other when approached with sufficient wisdom and strategic thinking. Master Eric's business participates in one such network that spans the major shipbuilding centers throughout Scandinavia, enabling him to learn about innovations developed in distant workshops, share his own discoveries with other master craftsmen, and coordinate with suppliers and customers across political and cultural boundaries that might seem insurmountable to people who lack the relationships and reputation necessary for conducting business based on trust and mutual respect, rather than formal contracts or legal enforcement mechanisms that simply don't exist for regulating commercial relationships that span vast distances and multiple jurisdictions where political authority is fragmented and legal systems vary dramatically from region to region. Bjorn observes that participation in these networks requires not just technical competence, but also social skills, cultural sensitivity, and the kind of personal integrity that enables craftsmen from different regions and backgrounds to trust each other with valuable information and significant financial commitments, despite never having formal legal recourse if agreements are violated or circumstances change unexpectedly in ways that make original arrangements unprofitable or impossible to fulfill according to original terms and expectations. As you absorb this understanding about the crucial importance of networks and relationships in creating sustainable abundance, feeling your breathing become slower and more rhythmic, while your mind opens to new possibilities for connection and collaboration in your own life, you might recognize how these same principles operate in your modern world, where success increasingly depends on your ability to build authentic relationships, contribute value to communities, and participate meaningfully in networks that create mutual benefit for all participants, rather than simply extracting maximum advantage for yourself without regard for the welfare and success of others who share common interests and complementary capabilities that could be combined to achieve results superior to what any individual could accomplish working alone, regardless of personal skill or dedication. The sophistication of Viking commercial networks becomes even more apparent as Bjorn learns that successful shipbuilders use their understanding of these broader patterns to create what Master Olaf calls systemic value, improvements and innovations that benefit entire trading communities while simultaneously strengthening their own competitive positions in ways that create lasting advantages over builders who focus solely on individual transactions and immediate profits without considering how their actions affect the overall health and prosperity of the commercial ecosystem in which they operate and from which they derive their own success and prosperity. Olaf's Shipyard succeeds not just because he builds superior vessels and maintains excellent customer relationships, but because he has systematically worked to improve the overall infrastructure that supports Viking maritime commerce, including developing standardized quality specifications that help customers make better purchasing decisions, creating training programs that improve the skills of craftsmen throughout the region, and establishing financing arrangements that make it easier for merchants to obtain the high-quality vessels they need for successful completion of ambitious trading expeditions that create prosperity for entire communities. This approach to creating systemic value demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of how individual prosperity connects to community prosperity, recognizing that the most sustainable and satisfying forms of abundance come from contributing to systems that benefit many people rather than simply extracting maximum value from existing arrangements without regard for their long-term viability or their impact on other participants in the commercial network. As Bjorn watches Olaf explain to a group of younger builders how certain improvements in regional shipbuilding standards will benefit everyone involved in maritime commerce, while simultaneously strengthening Olaf's own business position by creating conditions that favor builders who understand and implement these higher standards. He begins to understand that true abundance consciousness involves thinking beyond zero-sum competition to encompass positive-sum collaboration that creates more value for everyone, rather than simply redistributing existing value in ways that benefit some participants at the expense of others. The evening shipyard also reveals how master craftsmen use their understanding of deeper economic and social patterns to identify emerging opportunities that aren't yet obvious to their competitors, positioning themselves to benefit from changes that others won't recognize until market conditions have already shifted and first-mover advantages have been captured by those who understood the implications of early signals and trends that might have seemed insignificant or unrelated to immediate business concerns, but actually represented important indicators of fundamental changes in trading patterns, customer requirements, or technological possibilities. Master gunners' specialized knowledge of ice navigation and Arctic shipbuilding techniques exemplifies this principle, as Bjorn learns that Gunnar's investment in developing expertise for building ice-strengthened vessels initially seemed like a narrow specialization with limited market potential, but has proven extremely valuable as climate patterns and exploration activities have created increasing demand for vessels capable of operating in Arctic waters where traditional ships would be damaged or destroyed by ice conditions. This ability to recognize emerging opportunities requires not just analytical intelligence, but also intuitive sensitivity to subtle changes in customer behavior, trading patterns, political conditions, and environmental factors that might seem unrelated to immediate business concerns, but could dramatically impact future market conditions for those perceptive enough to understand their implications and wise enough to position themselves appropriately before these changes become obvious to competitors who then face the disadvantage of trying to develop capabilities after market demand has already been established and early adopters have captured preferred customer relationships and premium pricing opportunities. As you allow this insight about opportunity recognition and strategic positioning to settle naturally into your consciousness, feeling your mind becoming more receptive and your body more completely relaxed, you might notice how your own awareness of possibilities begins to expand beyond obvious opportunities to encompass subtler signals and emerging trends that could represent significant sources of value creation in your personal and professional life if you develop the sensitivity and strategic thinking necessary for recognizing them before they become apparent to everyone else in your field or industry. The medieval evening continues with Bjorn discovering that the most prosperous shipbuilders don't just adapt to changing conditions, but actively work to create conditions that favor their particular strengths and business models, demonstrating a level of strategic thinking that goes far beyond reactive adjustment to encompass proactive influence over the economic and social environment in which they operate and from which they derive their income and reputation. Master Eric's business illustrates this principle as Bjorn learns that Eric has systematically worked to educate his customers about quality differences that might not be immediately apparent but significantly affect vessel performance and longevity, establish industry standards that favor his construction methods and quality control processes, and create customer expectations that make it difficult for competitors to succeed without matching his level of technical excellence and customer service, effectively raising the competitive bar in ways that benefit customers while strengthening his own market position and profit margins. This approach to market creation and influence requires understanding not just what customers currently want, but what they could want if they understood possibilities they haven't yet considered, demonstrating that true entrepreneurial success often involves expanding markets rather than simply competing for existing demand through price competition or minor product variations that don't fundamentally change the value proposition or customer experience. As Bjorn observes Eric explaining to potential customers how superior construction techniques can improve vessel performance, reduce maintenance requirements, and provide better long-term value despite higher initial costs, he begins to understand that creating abundance often involves helping other people recognize and pursue their own prosperity, rather than simply capturing a larger share of existing wealth through more efficient competition or superior negotiation skills that don't create additional value for anyone involved in the transaction. The sophistication of this approach to market development becomes even more apparent as Bjorn realizes that Eric isn't just selling ships, but educating his customers about the relationship between construction quality and operational success in ways that benefit everyone involved in the transaction while creating customer loyalty based on understanding and appreciation rather than simply habit or convenience. This educational approach requires significant investment of time and expertise, but it creates competitive advantages that can't be easily replicated by competitors who focus only on price or convenience without developing the knowledge and communication skills necessary for helping customers understand the full value of what they're purchasing and why superior quality justifies premium pricing that initially might seem expensive, but actually provides better value when total cost of ownership and performance capabilities are considered over the entire useful life of the vessel. As Bjorn absorbs these insights about market creation and customer education, feeling his understanding of value creation expanding to encompass these more sophisticated approaches to business development that go beyond simple product transactions to encompass consulting, education, and relationship building that provide ongoing value to customers while generating sustainable competitive advantages. He begins to recognize that the most successful craftsmen don't just build products, but create experiences and relationships that provide ongoing value to customers while generating sustainable prosperity based on mutual satisfaction and genuine value creation, rather than short-term profit maximization that might compromise long-term relationship quality and customer satisfaction. The evening shipyard reveals another dimension of commercial sophistication that Bjorn hadn't previously understood: the importance of what Master Gunner calls temporal arbitrage, the ability to recognize and take advantage of timing differences in how information, materials, and opportunities move through different markets and regions, creating profit opportunities based on understanding these timing differentials rather than simply competing on quality or price, in direct competition with other builders, serving the same customers in the same markets at the same time. Gunner's success with specialized Arctic vessels depends partially on his understanding of how climate patterns affect ice conditions in different regions, how exploration activities create demand for specialized capabilities before these requirements become obvious to builders who focus only on traditional markets, and how political and economic developments create temporary opportunities for builders who position themselves appropriately to serve emerging needs that other craftsmen either don't recognize or lack the capabilities to address effectively. This temporal approach to business strategy requires sophisticated understanding of how different markets operate, how information travels between regions, and how various factors affect supply and demand in ways that create temporary imbalances that can be extremely profitable for builders who recognize them early and position themselves to take advantage of these opportunities before they become obvious to competitors or before market forces eliminate the arbitrage potential through new entrants or price adjustments that restore competitive equilibrium. Bjorn realizes that this approach to business development represents a form of strategic intelligence that goes beyond simple market analysis to encompass understanding of complex systems, timing relationships, and information flows that create opportunities for those sophisticated enough to recognize and exploit them appropriately while providing genuine value to customers who benefit from having access to specialized capabilities when they need them most. As you allow this understanding about temporal arbitrage and strategic thinking to flow into your consciousness, feeling your mind expanding to encompass these more sophisticated approaches to opportunity recognition and value creation, you might notice how these same principles apply in your modern world, where information, products, and opportunities still move at different speeds through different markets and regions, creating similar arbitrage opportunities for those wise enough to recognize them and positioned appropriately to take advantage of them in ways that create value for all participants, rather than simply extracting profit from temporary market inefficiencies without providing corresponding benefits to customers or communities that enable sustainable business relationships and long-term prosperity. As the medieval summer evening reaches its most peaceful and contemplative hours, when the pale Arctic sun hovers just above the horizon, creating an almost supernatural atmosphere of endless possibility, where normal limitations seem to dissolve and deeper truths become visible to those ready to perceive them, Bjorn experiences a profound transformation in his understanding of what true mastery means and how genuine prosperity flows through the lives of those who align themselves with principles that transcend any particular craft or historical period, because they reflect fundamental laws of creation, service, and abundance that operate consistently throughout human history, regardless of technological developments, economic systems, or cultural contexts that might seem to change everything, but actually only affect the surface appearance of activities that remain essentially the same in their deeper structure and underlying dynamics. The master shipbuilders who have become his teachers throughout this magical evening don't simply possess superior technical skills or more extensive business knowledge than other craftsmen. They embody a way of thinking and being that attracts prosperity naturally, effortlessly, and sustainably, because they understand that true wealth flows not to those who grasp and accumulate for personal benefit alone, but to those who serve and circulate value in ways that benefit entire communities, while simultaneously fulfilling their own deepest needs for meaningful work, financial security, and the satisfaction that comes from contributing something genuinely valuable to the world around them. As you allow yourself to sink into the deepest levels of relaxation and receptivity, feeling your body completely supported by the comfortable bed, while your mind opens fully to receive the profound wisdom that Bjorn is discovering in these final hours of his transformative experience. Imagine the warm, golden light of the midnight sun, creating an almost sacred atmosphere where the deepest truths about craftsmanship and prosperity can be shared and absorbed by those ready to receive them and integrate them into their own understanding of how mastery is developed, how value is created, and how abundance consciousness enables the achievement of results that seem impossible from the perspective of ordinary thinking, but become natural and inevitable when approached with proper understanding of the principles that govern all sustainable success and lasting satisfaction. Master Eric's final lesson of the evening involves something he calls the golden thread, the invisible but unbreakable connection that links all truly masterful craftsmen across time and space, creating a network of excellence that operates according to principles that transcend particular historical periods, specific technologies, or individual cultural contexts, because these principles reflect fundamental laws of human potential and creative expression that remain constant regardless of external circumstances or apparent limitations that might seem to constrain what individuals can accomplish through dedicated application of their talents and capabilities. This golden thread of mastery consciousness reveals itself through the way successful craftsmen think about their relationship with their work, their customers, their materials, and their community, approaching every project as an opportunity to create something that serves not just immediate practical requirements, but also higher purposes related to beauty, functionality, and the advancement of human capability and cultural development that benefits generations of people who will use and appreciate the results of excellence applied with wisdom and dedication to worthy objectives. Bjorn watches in amazement as Master Eric completes the final details on a magnificent longship that represents months of careful planning, skilled execution, and innovative problem-solving. But Eric's attention focuses not on celebrating his technical achievement or calculating his profit, but on ensuring that every aspect of the vessel reflects the highest possible standards of craftsmanship that will enable the crew to feel confident and proud when they sail this ship into dangerous waters where their lives will depend on the quality of construction and the integrity of every joint, every fastening, and every design decision that went into creating a vessel worthy of their trust and capable of carrying them safely through whatever challenges they might encounter during their voyages of exploration and commerce. Master Olaf demonstrates the same principle in his approach to training younger craftsmen, spending considerable time not just teaching specific techniques, but helping apprentices understand the deeper principles that enable craftsmen to adapt their skills to new challenges and continue developing their capabilities throughout their careers. As conditions change and new requirements emerge that demand innovative solutions based on solid foundations of proven craftsmanship principles, this generous sharing of valuable knowledge might seem counterproductive from a narrow competitive perspective, where information represents competitive advantage over potential rivals. But Bjorn begins to understand that Olaf's willingness to educate others actually strengthens his own position by raising the overall quality of craftsmanship in the region, creating a reputation for excellence that benefits everyone involved, while attracting the most challenging and rewarding projects that enable master craftsmen to continue developing their skills while earning the respect and compensation that reflects their contribution to community prosperity and cultural advancement. As you absorb this understanding about the interconnected nature of individual mastery and community excellence, feeling your breathing becomes slower and more natural, while your consciousness expands to encompass these profound insights about the true nature of craftsmanship and value creation. You might recognize how these same principles operate in your modern world, where the most successful individuals and organizations achieve lasting prosperity, not by competing more aggressively against others, but by elevating standards and capabilities throughout their industries, not by hoarding knowledge and opportunities, but by creating and sharing them in ways that generate excellence for everyone involved in the process of continuous improvement and mutual advancement that benefits entire communities while enabling individual achievement of the highest levels of professional satisfaction and financial success. The golden thread of mastery consciousness that Bjorn discovers connects him across centuries to your own life and your own opportunities for developing excellence in whatever field or endeavor you choose to pursue with dedication and proper understanding of the principles that enable sustained achievement of superior results that serve both personal and broader community interests. The medieval evening reveals another aspect of the golden thread that Bjorn hadn't previously understood: the way that truly masterful craftsmen approach their relationship with their materials, treating wood, iron, rope, and other components not as inert substances to be manipulated according to predetermined plans, but as partners in a collaborative creative process where the inherent characteristics and potential of natural materials are understood, respected, and utilized in ways that bring out their best qualities while achieving functional objectives that serve human needs and aspirations. Master Gunnar demonstrates this principle as he selects timber for a new project, explaining how he reads the grain patterns, growth characteristics, and structural properties of each piece, not just to determine its suitability for particular applications, but to understand how its unique characteristics can be utilized most effectively to create results that are both functionally superior and aesthetically pleasing in ways that reflect the natural beauty and inherent potential of the materials themselves, rather than imposing arbitrary designs that fight against natural characteristics instead of working with them harmoniously. This collaborative approach to materials reveals a sophisticated understanding of how mastery involves not just technical control over tools and techniques, but intuitive sensitivity to the properties and potential of everything involved in the creative process, including materials, tools, environmental conditions, and even the psychological and emotional states that affect the quality of attention and decision-making that determine whether projects achieve their highest potential or merely meet minimum functional requirements. Bjorn realizes that this approach to materials as collaborators rather than objects to be dominated represents a fundamental shift in consciousness that extends far beyond shipbuilding to encompass any situation where people work with natural or human resources to create results that serve important purposes and reflect the highest possible standards of excellence and integrity. As you allow this insight about collaborative creativity and respectful utilization of resources to settle into your consciousness, feeling your understanding of mastery expanding to encompass these more sophisticated approaches to working with whatever materials and opportunities are available to you, you might recognize how these same principles apply in your own life, where sustainable success comes not from forcing outcomes through struggle and resistance, but from understanding and working with natural patterns and inherent potentials in ways that create results that seem effortless because they align with rather than oppose the deeper currents of possibility and natural development. The evening Shipyard concludes with Bjorn's complete transformation from someone who thought about craftsmanship in terms of technical skills and economic competition to someone who understands mastery as a vehicle for personal development, community service, and participation in larger patterns of human advancement that connect individual achievement to broader purposes related to cultural evolution, technological progress, and the expansion of human capability and consciousness that benefits countless people across many generations. Master Eric's final words capture the essence of this transformation as he explains that true mastery comes not from accumulating skills or achieving recognition, but from developing the capacity to create value that serves others while simultaneously fulfilling your own deepest need for meaningful work that contributes something genuinely valuable to the ongoing development of human civilization and the advancement of capabilities that enable people to achieve results that seemed impossible to previous generations who lacked the tools, knowledge, and techniques that become available through the dedicated efforts of master craftsmen who understand their role in the larger story of human development and progress. This understanding represents a fundamental shift from ego-based consciousness that sees mastery as a means of personal aggrandizement or competitive advantage over others, to service-based consciousness that recognizes mastery as a responsibility to contribute the best possible work to endeavors that benefit many people while providing opportunities for personal growth and satisfaction that come from knowing that your efforts have made a positive difference in the world and contributed to the advancement of human capability and cultural development. Bjorn's transformation reflects changes that can occur in your own life as you absorb these timeless principles of mastery and begin to apply them in your modern context, recognizing that the same consciousness that enabled Viking craftsmen to create vessels of legendary reliability and beauty continues to operate today for those who understand how to align themselves with principles of excellence, service, and collaborative creativity that transcend particular technologies or economic systems because they reflect fundamental aspects of human potential and the satisfaction that comes from meaningful work. As you feel yourself drifting toward peaceful sleep, your subconscious mind continues to absorb and integrate these profound lessons about the true nature of mastery, excellence consciousness, and the golden thread that connects all people throughout history who have dedicated themselves to creating value that serves others while pursuing their own highest potential for skill development and meaningful contribution to the advancement of human capability and cultural achievement. The warm summer evening air carries Bjorn's final realization that mastery isn't something you achieve through competition or accumulation of credentials, but something you become as you develop the consciousness and capabilities that naturally attract opportunities for creating value while serving purposes larger than personal benefit alone. Recognizing that true satisfaction comes not from what you can get through your skills, but from what you can give through the application of those skills in service to worthy objectives that benefit others while providing opportunities for continued growth and development. This understanding transforms his relationship with his craft from one of anxiety about competition and concern about economic security to one of confidence and flow, recognizing that excellence naturally attracts opportunities and that mastery creates its own abundance through the value it provides to others who appreciate and reward superior quality that enables them to achieve their own important objectives and goals. As you allow these final insights to settle into the deepest levels of your consciousness, feeling your body completely relaxed and your mind perfectly peaceful, you can trust that your subconscious will continue processing and integrating these powerful lessons throughout your sleep, enabling you to wake tomorrow with expanded awareness of your own capacity for developing mastery through service, dedication, and the patient application of your unique talents in ways that benefit both yourself and others, while contributing to the ongoing advancement of human capability and cultural development. The golden thread of mastery consciousness that Bjorn discovered in the Viking shipyard connects you to countless others throughout history who have learned these same principles and used them to create lives of meaning, excellence, and sustainable prosperity that flows naturally from their commitment to creating value for others while pursuing their own highest potential for skill development and meaningful contribution to endeavors that serve purposes larger than personal benefit alone. The gentle crackling of the fire continues to provide the perfect backdrop for your peaceful rest as you drift into restorative sleep, knowing that you are connected to this timeless tradition of excellence consciousness that transcends any particular historical period or technological context because it reflects fundamental truths about human potential, creative expression, and the natural laws that govern the development of mastery and the creation of lasting value that serves both individual and community interests in ways that enable sustained prosperity and satisfaction. Your dreams tonight will be filled with golden threads of possibility, connection, and creative potential that weave themselves into your waking consciousness as new awareness of opportunities for developing excellence, insights about the relationship between mastery and service, and confidence in your ability to create value and attract abundance through alignment with these eternal principles of craftsmanship, dedication, and conscious contribution that operate as reliably in your modern world as they did in Bjorn's medieval shipyard. Bjorn's story concludes with him walking slowly home through the quiet fjord village, his heart full of gratitude for the profound teachings he has received, and his mind illuminated with understanding about how mastery serves not just personal development, but larger purposes related to human advancement and cultural evolution. Knowing that tomorrow will bring new opportunities to apply these principles while continuing to develop his capabilities in service to worthy objectives that benefit others, while providing deep satisfaction that comes from meaningful work and excellent results. As you follow him into peaceful sleep, you carry with you the same understanding, the same possibilities, and the same connection to the eternal principles of mastery that have guided excellent craftsmen throughout history and continue to operate in your modern world for those wise enough to recognize and apply them in their daily work and life choices. The summer evening completes its cycle as Bjorn falls asleep to the sound of gentle waves lapping against the shore, his consciousness transformed by his encounter with master craftsmen who taught him that true excellence comes not from what you can achieve for yourself alone, but from what you can create in service to others, not from how much recognition you can accumulate, but from how much value you can contribute, and not from competing against others for limited resources, but from developing capabilities that enable you to create abundance for everyone involved in the magnificent process of collaborative creativity that reflects humanity's highest potential for excellence, innovation, and mutual advancement in an abundant universe that rewards those who align themselves with its generous and creative nature. Your own peaceful sleep tonight carries forward Bjorn's transformation as you absorb these same principles into your subconscious mind, enabling you to wake tomorrow with expanded awareness of your connection to the golden thread of mastery consciousness that links you to excellent craftsmen throughout history and across cultures who have discovered that true prosperity flows naturally to those who focus on creating exceptional value for others while developing their own unique talents and capabilities in service to purposes that benefit not just themselves, but entire communities and future generations who inherit the results of excellence applied with wisdom, dedication, and love.